Thank y'all. Thank everybody for coming. I'll try to speak into this thing if I can. So I asked for this gig because, like a lot of the other people you've heard from today, I've known Leo for a little while. So it is my privilege to introduce him to you today. He's one of the finest young men I know, and that if you get to know him, you'll feel the same way. I first met Leo when he was a young boy growing up in Rye. He played baseball for the Garnets with my son Jack and some of the other kids I see in the crowd here today. He was also in my Rye Boxing Club program, which we just started up yesterday, and I see a lot of those kids in the crowd too, so thank everybody for coming. One of my favorite movies from the war in Vietnam is that movie Full Metal Jacket. Now, if you guys remember that one, but there's a great scene where one of the characters says to the main characters, "You talk the talk, but do you walk the walk?" Well, Leo Matthews walks the walk. After he graduated from Rye High in 2011, he attended the United States Military Academy at West Point, just up the river. For those of you who don't know a lot about West Point, we kind of do here in New York, but some of the young kids might not. This is a very prestigious school. Everybody there graduated in the top 10% of their high school class somewhere. A lot of them are valedictorians. These are like overachieving kids from all 50 states. And so that's sort of the crucible you're in at West Point. Leo graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering in the top 10% of his class with honors in that crowd of kids. So, I mean, he had a strong start up at West Point. After graduating, Leo was commissioned a second lieutenant, and then he went to infantry officer leaders course, where he was ranked, get this, there's 180 hard-charging second lieutenants at this course, right? These are all fresh out of West Point guys, fresh out of VMI, the Citadel. They're hard chargers. There's 180 of them in this infantry leaders course. Our guy Leo, number one. Right? Then, oh, he's just getting started, our Leo. Leo's first real job in the Army was the same first real job I had in the Marine Corps, was he's an infantry platoon leader, right? That's the essence, starting job for a young second lieutenant in the service if you're an infantry guy. So that was Leo's first real job. After training up his platoon, they go off to the Baltics. He has a platoon of 44 airborne infantry. That's what they used to call paratroopers back in the day, but airborne infantry guys. So they do a 6-month deployment in the Baltic. They're in Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia, you know, to deter. We like to do these deterrence missions. I did one in Libya back in the day. Russian aggression in the region. You know, you got to wave the flag once in a while, show them what you can do so they behave. So Leo did that, and then one of the things that happens in the military, especially when you're a young officer, they rank you against your peers. So the senior officers write these fitness reports, and they have to rank you against your peers. There's 13 lieutenants in an infantry battalion. Our man Leo, number one, right? Because he's number one again, they decide we got to school him up. They decide they're going to send him to Ranger School. All right, Ranger School. They only send like the top 5% of the guys in the Army, whether they're officers or enlisted soldiers. You got to be in the very, very, very top part to get a slot in Ranger School. All right, Leo gets a slot in Ranger School. Ranger School's very difficult. Even Marines and Navy SEALs admit that Ranger School is legit, okay? It's hard. It's 2 months. You get very little sleep. You're in the bush the whole time. For 2 months, they're grinding you down. Guess what? Our man Leo finishes number one out of Ranger School. Half the guys who start don't even finish. Half the guys, these elite guys who start, don't even finish. Leo not only finishes number one in his class. Starting to see the pattern here for our guy Leo, right? So after he earns his Ranger tab, that thing you see on the left shoulder that he has, and it's a big deal to wear your Ranger tab. It's one of the highest honors. You know, all that chest candy he has right here, that Tony has on his blues over there, that Ranger tab is that combat infantryman badge he has there. Those are the real ones. Those are the ones that if you're walking around in the Army and they see you got your tab and your CIB, you're legit. So after he graduates from Ranger School, he joins the Army's elite 75th Ranger Regiment. While assigned there, Leo completed 4 combat missions, 3 in Afghanistan, 1 in East Africa. 4 is a lot for a young fella, just so you know. He excelled in counterterrorism special operations against violent extremist organizations like Al-Qaeda. That's like the watered down, non-classified version of what Leo was doing. And when I say special operations, that's the real stuff. That's the stuff they make movies about, right? This is like, you know, Rangers in the bush, small teams, doing real stuff, finding the bad guys. That's what our boy Leo does. All right, so now he's in this 1,000-member Ranger battalion. 1,000, you know, Rangers in there, all tough guys. 53 of them are captains, just like Leo. Guess which one young Leo is? They ranked them all 53. Leo's #1 in his Ranger battalion. You guys, I've been around the service for a while. I've never even heard of anything like this. One of my VMI roommates is a Navy SEAL. We swapped stories about this superstar guy in my unit, blah, blah, blah. I've never heard of that. For a guy to be #1 in every single thing he's ever done in his career. It's amazing. I think someone in the Army finally recognized that they had a superstar on their hands, so they transitioned him out of the infantry and they put him into military intelligence. All right? So he had to go to a school for that. Of course, he finished in the top 10% of his class in that school too. And then after he's out in the world, briefing generals, running a team of interagency people from like the CIA and the Marines and the Navy and the Air Force, interagency team. They only put the sharp guys in charge of those sorts of groups. So Leo does that for a couple years, and then he's put up for something called the Lieutenant General Sidney Weinstein Award for Excellence in Military Intelligence. I had to look it up because I was a meager infantryman myself, never heard of it, so I looked it up. It is like for the rock star of the Army in military intelligence. Okay? I'm going to read to you something briefly. I know I'm taking a while, but this is important to me, and I hope it's important to y'all when you hear Leo in a minute. So the Joint JSOC, you probably heard, you might have heard that. Those of you guys in the military probably heard of JSOC. So that means it stands for the Joint Special Operations Command. It's at Fort Bragg. The guy who runs it, the commanding general, is a 3-star general, right? 09, right? This is what that 3-star general is writing about our guy, Leo Matthews, when he gets put up for this award. This is a 3-star general, all right? He's an 03. This guy's an 09. They're worlds apart from each other. Simply put, Captain Matthews is the best intelligence officer in the Ranger Regiment and a clear standout in the Joint Special Operations community. His combat experience ranges from conducting the exfiltration in Afghanistan to contingency operations in East Africa. He is that rare intelligence professional whose candor, humor, and competence as an individual is only surpassed by his ability to build and motivate teams that learn, lead, and win. Leo has absolutely unlimited potential and embodies the values and ethos championed by Lieutenant General Weinstein. Already selected as a West Point instructor, Leo will shape the next generation of intelligence professionals as an inspirational figure. More importantly, he will soon return to the intelligence community where his contributions will be immeasurable. That's pretty strong, y'all. right, I'm finishing up, I swear. Leo recently completed his master's in security studies at Georgetown University and was selected to teach American politics at West Point. I asked him about that earlier. I imagine that's been interesting lately. Leo's married to the lovely Dominique, and they're the proud parents of their young son, Killian. Leo's parents, Beth and Ed Matthews, have long been involved in public service here in Rye and are just two great people. They never miss Memorial Day or Veterans Day here on the green. I ask that the Matthews family please stand to be recognized at this time. So in conclusion, while it is nice to have Leo back here in New York for a few years, as you can see, he is clearly destined for great things in this world. None of us will be surprised to hear someday, Leo, that you've been appointed the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff or something like that. We are thrilled to hear his comments today, and also that his name is among those recently added to our Rye Veterans Monument. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, literally one of the finest young men in America, Rye's very own Captain Leo Matthews.